Most families open their college aid offer and feel relief, but the true cost of college isn't on that first page. And by the time most people figure that out, their kid is already enrolled. Here's what this video is going to do. Walk you through the actual 4-year math, not the number the school sent you. The number you'd see if you built a simple spreadsheet, factored in 4% annual tuition inflation, held the grant flat because grants don't grow with tuition, and then added 10 years of loan interest on top of everything you borrowed. That number is almost always a shock, and I want you to see it before you say yes. There's one specific moment in this math I'm going to come back to at the end, the exact point where a package that looks like it covers most of the cost quietly flips into something else entirely. Most families don't catch it until year 3. We're going to catch it right now. Take Marisol. She's 54, works in hospital administration, Filipino-American, lives in the Pacific Northwest. Her son got into a private university he's genuinely excited about. The year 1 aid offer looked solid, a $25,000 grant package against a roughly $43,000 cost of attendance. That left about $18,000 per year. Manageable, right? The financial aid office kept saying they'd covered most of it, and on paper, they had. So Marisol did what she does at work when a budget summary looks clean, but something feels off. She sat down with a printed spreadsheet and a calculator. And what she found, running the college aid offer real cost out 4 full years, quietly rearranged everything she thought she understood about that acceptance letter. Let's run the same math together. Year 1, $43,000 cost of attendance, $25,000 grant, $18,000 gap. You borrow $18,000 through a combination of subsidized and unsubsidized federal loans. That feels workable. The school sends a congratulations email. Your kid picks a roommate. Now here's what most people don't do. They don't advance the clock. Year 2, tuition inflation runs at roughly 4% annually at most private universities. That's been the durable average, and in 2026, it's still tracking right there. So your cost of attendance doesn't stay at $43,000. It moves to about $44,700. And the grant? It stays at $25,000. Most institutional grants are awarded as a flat annual amount. They don't escalate with tuition. So your gap in year 2 isn't $18,000 anymore. It's $19,700. You borrow again. Year 3, cost of attendance climbs to roughly $46,500. Grant is still $25,000. Gap is now $21,500. You borrow again. Year 4, cost pushes past $48,300. Same $25,000 grant. Gap is over $23,000. You borrow again. Stop there and just add the gaps. $18,000, $19,700, $21,500, $23,000. That's about $82,200 in borrowed principal over 4 years. Not $72,000, not what a flat year projection would have shown you. $82,000, because the gap compounds upward every single year while the grant sits still. Now here's the part that catches people completely off guard. You don't repay $82,200. You repay what that loan becomes after interest. On a standard 10-year federal repayment plan at current rates, which for undergraduate unsubsidized loans are sitting in the 6.5% to 7% range, that $82,200 in principal turns into somewhere between $108,000 and $114,000 in total repayment. Marisol's spreadsheet landed at $112,000. That's where the title of this video comes from. A $25,000 aid offer, compounded honestly 4 years out, with real loan math on top, $112,000 in true cost. The real cost of college over 4 years is not the number on page 1. And here's something that surprised Marisol when she dug deeper, and it'll probably surprise you too. The school's own net price calculator only runs year 1. It is legally only required to show you year 1. So when the financial aid office says, "We covered most of it," they're telling you the truth about a single 12-month window. They're just not showing you the window's neighbors. That's not fraud, but it is a gap in the information you're making a $200,000 decision with. And that gap is yours to close. So what can you actually do with this math? Because the point isn't to panic, it's to negotiate from a position of real information. This is where Marisol's story gets useful in a practical way. Once she had the 4-year projection in front of her, she had something she didn't have before: a specific number, a documented gap, and a clear argument for why the year 1 offer, whatever the school's intentions, wasn't going to stay affordable across all 4 years. That's a professional judgment appeal. And schools can make mid-enrollment adjustments if you come in with evidence, not just frustration. The framework for that conversation has a few key pieces. First, you need to show the school the same math you ran, not emotionally, analytically. Schools respond to demonstrated financial analysis. You're not saying, this is unfair. You're saying, here's the 4-year projection using your own historical tuition increase rate. Here's what the loan balance becomes on a standard repayment timeline. And here's the point where this stops being manageable for our household. That's a different conversation than the one most families have. Second, you're asking them to look at the real cost of college over 4 years, not just the snapshot. Financial aid administrators have more discretion than most families realize. They can reconsider grant amounts, adjust packaging, or flag a student for additional aid review if you give them a reason to. A documented projection is a reason. Third, and this is the detail Marisol almost missed, you want to ask specifically about multi-year grant guarantees. Some schools offer them quietly, without advertising them. If a school will lock your grant amount to escalate with tuition, even partially, the 4-year math changes dramatically. That's worth asking about directly. I built the full 4-year projection worksheet and the appeal letter template into the pack at FAFSA-appeal.com. The worksheet does the inflation compounding and loan amortization automatically, and the letter template is built specifically for the affordability argument we just walked through. If you want the executable version, that's where it lives. Now, I want to come back to the thing I teased at the beginning, because this is where the math gets a little bit haunting. When Marisol laid her spreadsheet out flat, there was one column that stopped her. It wasn't the total loan balance, it was the cumulative interest figure by itself, separated from principal, showing exactly what the family would pay the federal government just for the privilege of spreading repayment over 10 years. On her son's package, that number was north of $29,000. $29,000 that never touched a classroom, a professor, a lab, or a single credit hour. The college kept saying, we covered most of it. And on paper, they had. Until the family ran the actual 4-year math and saw that the part the school didn't cover was going to cost nearly $30,000 more than the principal alone would suggest, because of how loan amortization front-loads interest into early payments. That's the number most families are never shown, and it's the number that changes whether this offer is actually affordable. Is this college aid offer affordable? That's the question this whole video is really answering. And the honest answer is, you can't know until you've run the 4-year projection, not just the year 1 snapshot. Marisol thought she knew. The spreadsheet told her something different. If you're sitting with an offer right now that feels mostly okay, but something doesn't quite add up, trust that instinct. Run the math forward. 4 years of 4% tuition inflation, flat grants, and a decade of interest adds up to a number the aid offer letter will never show you on its own. You deserve to make this decision with the real number in front of you. If this video helped you see something that wasn't obvious before, a like actually helps YouTube show it to other parents who are in the same exact spot right now. And there are a few more videos on this channel that walk through the appeal process, the negotiation conversation, and what to do if you've already said yes and the numbers have changed. You've got this. Run the math first.